Hello viewers, today we are going to discuss an important aspect of company law, that is meetings. We are going to discuss kinds, quorum, voting, etc. and this will be forming a part of chapter 7th of the company law portion. Let us now discuss the meetings. Now meetings are defined as a gathering of two or more persons for any legal or business purpose. It is a gathering for transacting business transactions. A company is an association of several persons. So decisions are made according to the view of the majority and various matters have to be discussed and decided upon. Nothing can be decided by one single person because company itself is a collection of people. Now these discussions at the meetings which take place between the members and between the directors. Needless to say, the importance of meetings cannot be underemphasized in the case of companies. The Companies Act 1956 contains several provisions regarding the meetings. These provisions have to be understood and followed. For a meeting, there must be at least two persons attending the meeting. One member cannot constitute a company meeting even if he holds the proxies for other members. The concept of proxies will be discussed in a later on discussion. Now let us discuss the kinds of meetings. Basically there are three types of meetings: the shareholders meetings, the board meetings and the other meetings. The shareholders meetings, four kinds. Number one is the statutory meeting as per section 165 of the Act. The annual general meeting or the AGM as per section 166. Extraordinary general meetings, number one, convened by the directors and convened by the directors on the requisition of shareholders. Then is the class meetings of the shareholders. The second type of meeting is the board meetings and the third type is the other meetings. The second kind of meeting is the meeting of the board and the third kind of meeting are some other meetings. Now this would include meetings of the board committee constituted by the company, the meetings of the debenture holder, meetings of the creditors for the purpose other than the winding up, meetings of creditors for winding up and meetings of contributories in winding up. The first and foremost kind of meeting of the shareholders is the statutory meeting under section 165. What is a statutory meeting? Try to know the meaning of statutory meeting. Now it is the first kind of meeting which has to be held by the company and it is conducted once in the entire lifetime of the company. So a statutory meeting will be only just once by the company and by specified kinds of companies. Now the companies which can hold such a meeting are: number one, the company which is limited by shares, and secondly a company which is limited by guarantee and having a share capital. Companies which need not hold the meeting: number one, private company, whether it is independent or a subsidiary of public company, a public company which is not having a share capital, an unlimited public company, a public company limited by guarantee and not having share capital, and the last one, a government company. So in toto we can say that only a public company which has a limited liability and a share capital can hold a statutory meeting, and a public company which has a share capital and its liability, whether it is limited by guarantee, can have a statutory meeting. Now the time limit of the meeting would be: the statutory meeting can be held within a period of not less than 1 month and not more than 6 months. Now, the time which has to be reckoned for this less than and more than be the date of receiving of the certificate of commencement of business. There are two kinds of certificates which are needed by the public limited companies. One is the certificate of incorporation and the second one is the certificate of commencement of business. So, for the stipulation of the time period of 1 month and 6 months, the time limit will be counted from the certificate of commencement of business. The notice of the meeting will be minimum 21 clear days of notice which is to be given. A minimum clear days means the date of the meeting has to be excluded and the date on which the notice was posted also that will be excluded, plus 48 hours for postal delay of reaching the notice shall also be included. So, excluding this time limit, 21 clear days should be there between the date of the meeting and the posting of the notice for the meeting. The object of the meeting is to enable the members to know at an early date the financial position and the prospects of the company, and also to provide them an opportunity to discuss on various matters arising out of promotion and formation of the company. Since the statutory meeting is the first meeting which has to be held by the public limited company, then it becomes very necessary to let the shareholders know major things about the company, like who all are the shareholders, who are the directors, how the money has been utilized, what is the account of receipts and payments, underwriting commission, etc. The importance therefore of this meeting is that it is held only once during the lifetime of the company and it is the first meeting. What is a statutory report and what are its content is another question. This statutory report which is sent to each member along with the notice of the meeting should contain certain information. The contents of this statutory report will be: it sets out the total number of shares allotted and the mode of allotment, the total amount of cash received by the company in respect of the shares allotted, an abstract of receipt and payment of the company. This report has to be duly certified by at least 2 directors, out of which one shall be a managing director along with the auditor of the company. It will also include the agenda of the meeting regarding the formation and prospects of the company, the particulars of the directors, auditors, etc., particular of the contract, underwriting contract, areas of call, commission or brokerage. A statutory meeting, if it needs to be postponed because of some technical problems due to some noisy scene at the meeting, then it could be adjourned from time to time. This statutory meeting, if it is adjourned time to time according to the provisions of the Companies Act, the power would also vest in the hands of the shareholders. So, shareholders are the people who can decide whether the meeting has to be adjourned or not. It should also be noted that adjourned meeting is considered as the continuation of the original meeting. So, the actual date of conducting of the statutory meeting will be the date of the original meeting, and adjourned meeting will be a continuation of the same. Now, what will happen if the statutory meeting is not held according to the provisions of section 165? If a default is made in compliance of the requirement of section 165, every person responsible shall be punishable with a fine extending to rupees 5,000. If the company fails to call a statutory meeting, then it becomes a sound ground for the winding up of the company, and such a ground can be maintained by the ROC, and the meeting and the winding up procedures would follow. The next question is whether the court can demand a statutory meeting, and the answer is yes. Where the company has failed to conduct a statutory meeting within a stipulated time, then the court may call for a meeting. Now, the next type of meeting, which is a regular feature in the company's life, is the annual general meeting, which is in short called the AGM. The meaning is that it is the annual meeting of the body of members and it is held every year. Companies which are required to hold an AGM, it is to be noted that every kind of company, whether it is private or public, limited by shares or unlimited, government companies or any other company, whether domestic company or foreign company, every kind of company has to hold an AGM. The time limit for holding the AGM has been bifurcated into two kinds, the time limit for the first AGM and the time limit for the subsequent AGMs. The first AGM of the company has to be held within a period of 18 months from the date of incorporation. However, this should not be more than 9 months from the close of financial year. 9 months is the time stipulation it has been provided, so that anything older than 9 months accounts should not be shown, because that's conspicuous changes must have occurred in the financial position of the company. So, you cannot submit older accounts for more than 9 months. Then is the subsequent meeting. There must be one meeting held in every year. Here year would mean a calendar year. Then the gap between the two AGM, that is the last AGM and the subsequent AGM, must not be more than 15 months. The third one is meeting must be held not later than 6 months from the close of financial year. Here it is 6 months, that is in every subsequent AGM not older than 6 months accounts should be placed at the AGM, and in the first AGM 9 months older accounts could be placed. Then there are some instances in the carrying of business of the company where the AGM could not be held within the time stipulation. In such a condition, the extension of time could be provided, and the ROC, that is the registrar, has got the power to give an extension of 3 months maximum. It should also be noted that such an extension applies only to a subsequent AGM, that is 15 months is the time limit, maximum time limit between the AGMs that can be done, and a further period of 3 months could also be given. Now, this extension of 3 months would not apply to the first AGM which is already being conducted in 18 months. The day, hour and place of the meeting. The meeting can be held at any working place, on any working day and working hour. Now, the emphasis over here is working place, working day and working hour, which means the working place would be the registered office. So, the AGM should be held at a place where the registered office is situated, mostly at the registered office or in near the vicinity of the registered office. If the day schedule for the meeting is declared by the central government to be a public holiday after the issue of notice, it shall not be deemed as a holiday. So, this means that even on a public holiday, the AGM could be conducted if it is an accidental public holiday. If the date of public holiday is already known, then the notice of the meeting shall be suitably amended. Notice of the meeting: 21 clear days notice or any shorter notice, if agreed by all the shareholders, must be given. 21 clear days, again it will exclude the day of the meeting, the day of posting the notice, and 48 hours for the postal delay. The business which could be transacted at the meeting are of two types, that is the ordinary business and the special business. Ordinary business means business which is of routine matter every year at the AGM, and anything beyond this ordinary business would be a special business. Now, let us first see what is an ordinary business. Number 1 is presenting the balance sheet, report of directors, etc. Second, to declare the dividends. Third, to appoint the directors, and fourth, to appoint the auditors and fixation of their remuneration. So, these 4 kinds of ordinary business are there, which will be the agenda for every AGM. If anything extra is to be discussed, then it will be included in special business. So, any other business which is not an ordinary business would be a special business. Now, what will happen if there is a default in holding the AGM? The Company Law Board has clarified that if on a petition from a member, it shall call or direct the calling of general meeting of the company. So, if the AGM is not being held in time, any shareholder can submit a petition to the CLB and direct the company to hold its AGM. What could be the penalty? If a default is made in holding the AGM, the company and every officer in default shall be punishable with a fine which could extend to 50,000 rupees. In case the default continues, a further fine up to rupees 2,500 per day may be levied till such a default continues. AGM can also be conducted through the postal ballot system in case all the shareholders cannot come and attend the meeting. Now, let us discuss the provisions which relate to the procedure to be followed for transacting business at AGM through the postal ballot. Where a company decides to pass any resolution by postal ballot, it must inform about it to all the shareholders by sending notice, along with the draft resolution explaining the reason and requesting them to send their assent within a period of 30 days from the date of posting of the letter. The notice should be sent through the registered post and a postage prepaid envelope for facilitating the communication of assent or dissent of the shareholders to the resolution with the said period should be annexed. The board of directors may appoint one scrutinizer. He must not be in the employment of the company. He must be a retired judge or any other person of repute who is in a position to conduct the postal ballot voting process. The scrutinizer will remain at his position for 35 days, leaving holidays from the date of issue of notice for AGM. He is required to submit his final report on or before the said period. If the resolution is towards a majority of the shareholders by means of postal ballot, it shall be deemed to have been passed at the general meeting. If a shareholder sends his assent or dissent in writing on a postal ballot and thereafter any person fraudulently defaces or destroys the ballot paper or declaration of the identity of the shareholder, such person shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 6 months or with fine or both. The scrutinizer will maintain a register to record the consent received, including the electronic media, mentioning the particulars of name, address, folio number, nominal value of shares, number of shares, etc. He shall also maintain a record for postal ballot which are received in defaced or mutilated form. The postal ballot and all other papers relating to postal ballot will be under the safe custody of the scrutinizer till the chairman considers, approves and signs the minutes of the meeting. Thereafter, the scrutinizer shall return the ballot paper and other related materials to the company so as to preserve such ballot papers and other related papers safely till the resolution is given effect to. The voting by electronic mode is a part of postal ballot. Procedures have come up where a shareholder could log on to the portal of the company and cast his vote electronically. So, this process would also have the same provisions as the postal ballot system. In today's session, we discussed the kinds of meetings, section 165 and section 166. Section 165 dealt with the statutory meeting and section 166 dealt with the annual general meeting. We also discussed the kinds of business that will be dealt at the meeting, that is ordinary business and special business. We also discussed the provisions relating to postal ballot and voting by electronic media. We also covered the meaning of the meeting, the importance of meeting, why it is necessary, and the kinds of other meeting. I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you.